the new Gmail has now had some updates, some pretty cool updates. You would have noticed a while ago, and I'm going to go and jump into my email. Jump into my email here. So you would have noticed a while ago that on the right-hand side of your Gmail, some new icons started coming up. And this is really Google's master plan that they've been working on for a while here. Previously, all of the plugins and all of the add-ons were basically outside of Google, right? They would be up here in your Google Chrome, and they would basically sit in a spot that was outside or external to your email, right? And so you'd have to launch plugins and add-ons either in a separate window or in a separate tab, or that have like little drop downs and other bits and pieces that kind of live up there, right? But Google switched all of those add-ons to actually now live inside the Google ecosystem. And you'll notice that if you go ahead and open something like the calendar, you have some of these that are sitting on the side as well. And so Google building out that sidebar was basically the first step in them bringing a lot more of your business tools into your Gmail here. So they went out to all their developers over the last year and said, hey, you've got to rebuild all of your apps, and we now want them to sit on the sidebar here. And so all the plugin developers have gone and kind of like rebuilt those into the sidebar. And then inside the sidebar is where you're going to access these different applications and these different plugins, right? That's the first step, only the first step. The next step is Google are now ramping up the integration with the rest of their tools right here in the sidebar. So you can see on the other side of my screen here, they bumped up Google Meet, so you can instantly start a meeting with Google Meet here. And then also Google Chat has been integrated. Now this is the new Google Chat, and you need to switch it on to get access to this. So if you're not yet seeing the new Google Chat with the chat rooms and the other cool things that you can do with the new Google Chat, then just drop a message over to our concierge team at itGenius, and we'll be able to switch that on for you. Just say I was on Pete's live stream and I want the new Google Chat switched on inside my Gmail. So that's where Google's now starting to bring more and more tools inside here. And let me tell you, what this has allowed me to do is actually get rid of about 3 tabs that I usually keep open every day. Now, we see lots of businesses that we implement G Suite for, right? And they all end up, after 6 months or 12 months time doing everything in the cloud. Tom's one of my favorite customers, or I probably shouldn't say that because we've also got Sue and we've got Woz here as well, who do everything Google. And I love customers who do everything Google because you really get all of the benefits of using G Suite, right? And so when I open up my Google, I'm usually working with my Gmail, but then I also need to access my calendar. So I'll open up my calendar in a separate tab. And I also maybe want to use Google Keep. So I'll open that up in a separate tab. And then maybe I want to get some stuff done in my Google Chat. And then I've got to open that in a separate tab as well. But what you end up with is like 6 tabs up the top there for all of your different Google apps. And if you are questioning how I've got them to like minimize down to the icon, you just right click. Let me move my, just so I'm not hidden there. You right click and you go to pin. So if you pin, right click and then pin a tab, it's going to pin it down there. And now that works great while you're flicking between the different tabs. But the problem that creates is the rapid, it's called multitasking, but what it's actually is rapid task switching. Now, you would have all heard about the myth of multitasking. Well, here's the actual science behind that. When you multitask, what multitask actually means, it came from a computer term. It was computer chips, right? And what multitasking actually meant was rapidly switching between tasks. Multitasking, or actually doing 2 things at once, doesn't actually exist. All you can do is switch between multiple tasks. And that's basically what we're doing. When we've got multiple tabs open and we're flicking between them, you're effectively just switching between tasks, but it doesn't actually make you any more productive. So what's the solution? The solution is, and if you've heard of the book called Deep Work by Cal Newport, excellent book, and it's basically the idea of removing all the distractions and just getting into the deep work. What Google's changes will allow you to do is remove some of these tabs and have a better chance of doing more of that deep work. So what we're going to do is we're going to basically get rid of our chat tab, we're going to get rid of our Google Keep tab, we're going to get rid of our calendar tab, and these all basically live here inside of Gmail. Now, when I initially tried this, I thought this is a bit nuts, right? I thought this is probably not going to be a good idea because I actually recommend you stay away from your inbox. And so for the last week, I said, okay, I'm going to test myself. I'm going to live in my inbox for the next week and just see how productive I am. See if I'm tempted to mess around with my emails for the day, or see if I'm able to actually have a productive workday. So I'm interested to hear from you. I'm going to answer a couple of questions now. Interested to hear from you what you think how I went. And I'm interested to hear from you if you've noticed these tools in your inbox if you're using Gmail. And I'm interested to hear what you think about them. Drop it in the comments down below. Have you had a different experience, or have you found yourself flicking between less tabs now that you can actually get more done inside of your Gmail? I'm going to share with you guys how I actually set things up to be productive inside my Gmail and how I got this to work. Now, what I found was after activating the new Google Chat, that actually worked pretty well because I spend most of my time only in a couple of conversations. I've got one-on-ones with Regina, Angel, Scott. We chit chat back and forward, but I try not to do too much kind of like PMing. What I noticed was because I've got the chat notifications switched off, it doesn't actually pop up and, like annoy me anywhere, which I like. What it means is I only need to respond to messages when I go in there and check them. And you may have instant messaging notifications switched on so they like pop up and annoy you. I don't recommend that. If there is an absolute emergency in the business, someone will call me. They'll pick up and I'll get a dial pad call, right? But for instant messaging, I really recommend you don't have the notification switched on because I don't really want to get into the culture and promote the culture within my team of being instantly and always available. So I try not to have that going. But here I can also access the rooms, which is pretty cool. So if I click onto a room here, it's going to bring up a chat room. Happy 1 year anniversary, Angel! Congratulations, yay! And so I can see the chat rooms here, and I can jump into those when I need to. I can reply. It's a tiny little bit. I don't know if this is because of a plugin that I've got switched on, but it's a tiny little bit buggy. I can't see into the bottom of a new thread there, but it does seem to kind of work, and I do like that. So big thumbs up for the chat experience. That worked pretty well for me. The meet experience here works nicely. So with one button, I can click a meeting and start a new meet here. But to be honest, I don't start that many impromptu meetings. Usually if I'm starting a new meeting inside of Google Meet, or if I'm jumping into a meeting inside of Google Meet, it's actually going to be done inside my calendar. So we'll have like a pre-scheduled meeting. Most of my meetings are pretty much recurring with the team. And so if I want to join that meeting, or when it's time to jump in and join that meeting, I can basically jump right in and join that just by clicking on my calendar. And my Chromebook's running a little bit slow here, so we can see. We'll see if we can get that one back. Is it still there? No? All right, let's give my Gmail a little bit of a refresh there. Cool. So usually when I'm using a meeting, it's going to be either like in a chat, and I'll just click the little button and drop a chat in there, or it's going to be via a scheduled meeting of some sort. So I've already basically got a schedule scheduled done. So they're the Google tools that I've made use of, but what about the other tools? Because Google lets you bring in other plugins. And this is where I've always been a big fan of choosing tools and choosing third-party applications that have a strong integration with the Google ecosystem. And if you've been a follower of me for a long time, and I'm talking about a super long time, like years and years, like more than 4 or 5 years, you would know that every time I recommend an app or a third-party extension or some kind of plugin or something that works with Google, I'm always recommending something that is going to work well and tightly integrated. The reason for that is they're the kind of businesses that are going to be doing things like building a gadget for the right-hand side here inside of Gmail. So you can see that I've got a gadget for DocuSign, so I can jump straight into signing documents, which is pretty cool. We've obviously got one for Copper CRM, thanks to our partnership with Scott, who's come on board. We've now got Copper CRM available for all of our customers. Dialpad is there, Asana is there as well. I don't find myself using these as much as I find myself using the calendar, which just kind of sits there all day, and then Google Keep when I need to jump into it quickly. But it is really handy to have them there. My team do use these all day long. And that's basically the experience that Google wants, is for you to be in your inbox all day long, and okay, hopefully not stuck in emails all day long, but in the inbox experience all day long. Because when, for example, you're opening up an email and maybe you're using a shared mailbox with a tool like Hiver, maybe you've got a conversation saved in Copper to that customer's account. I mean, it automatically, sucks in all the conversations, but you've basically got all of that data available right there, right inside your inbox. And so it's also automatically basically going to pull up any of those contacts and actually bring that data into the inbox. So I'm going to go ahead and authorize Copper. I haven't signed into Copper for a while, so it's dropped off the authorization. But let's go and authorize that, and I'll show you what that looks like. And now I'm going to have to try and find an email that's not commercially sensitive, but let's go ahead and sign in here, find one to Scott, and of course it's broken. Number one rule of demos is they always break. That's okay, we'll save that for another one, guys. Cool. So we've got all these tools now available in our inbox, and all I need to do is open up an email, and it's going to automatically bring in all that data and information on the side there. Now, when I'm using something like Copper, what it does is it actually goes and searches the customer's email address, and it pulls in their LinkedIn, it pulls in their website, it pulls in how many employees they have, and it actually pre-populates the CRM with all of that data. So very, very powerful to have that happening right inside the inbox. And so for our sales team or for our account management team, they don't really have to leave this one place. The challenges that we had with our team as we've grown and as we've scaled and as team members have had different disciplines is they've had to flick between a bunch of different apps. We were using Zendesk for all of our ticketing, and then have to constantly flick between Zendesk and Asana if they were doing or working on a project. That they'd be like flicking between chat as well. This kind of puts everything in the one place.